deudas y haz un simple pago a todos sus acreedores de tarjetas de crédito, pagado por Cero Deudas.
Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Purple Politics. I am your hostess, Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Well, we have more Russian interference in our elections. And no, we're not talking about Russiagate, the 2016 and all of the impeachments that ensued that Hillary Clinton's camp started. We're talking about actual disinformation that has been escalating by Russia and in full control of the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin. Russia has escalated its online efforts to obstruct military funding for Ukraine in the United States and Europe, utilizing more sophisticated technologies to advance arguments for isolationism, particularly in the lead up to the U.S. elections. Intelligence assessments and experts in disinformation reveal that Russia has refined its tactics to conceal its influence operations, prompting recent sanctions from the Treasury Department against 2 Russian entities allegedly supporting these campaigns. Operatives connected to President Putin and the Russian military intelligence are intensifying their efforts to shape the debate in the United States regarding support for Ukraine. While initial opposition to aid for Ukraine may not have been directly influenced by Russia, the Kremlin is seizing on it and is amplifying such the sentiments on many of our social media apps. These efforts involve laying the groundwork to support candidates opposing aid to Ukraine and advocating for a withdrawal of the United States, which is the largest financial supporter of NATO and its alliances. Investigations indicate the emergence of a network known as the Doppelganger, alongside tactics employed by Russian intelligence agencies aimed at replicating and distorting legitimate news sites to undermine support for Ukraine. These techniques represent a significant evolution from Russia's previous disinformation endeavors, displaying greater subtlety and skill in manipulating public opinion. We have actually seen these same efforts being executed in other Western nation governments, because many elections are happening as well in other Western countries. But more recently, it has been found that a lot of that fervor over Prince Catherine Middleton, Princess of Wales, and her health has also been tied to this same disinformation. So this responsibility of this influence operations has been delegated by Putin to Sergei Kiriyenko, which is who is receiving these sanctions. This anti-disinformation researchers have identified groups affiliated with Russian military intelligence employing these sophisticated techniques, disseminating messages. The long-term objective of these efforts is to reduce the global support of Ukraine by influencing democracies to elect candidates who do not advocate for providing aid. And also, they're looking ahead at our very own 2024 U.S. presidential election. American officials are anticipating Russia's continued efforts to influence our electoral outcomes, likely favoring candidates who align with their objectives, such as continuing their skepticism towards the aid for Ukraine, and also allowing for us to have more discourse and promotion of certain potential presidential candidates, such as Donald Trump. It is something that has to be dealt with, because one thing is for certain: if you go on X, you look on non-mainstream media, even online, they are utilizing these efforts to continue the divisiveness, breaking down the trust in media, trust in government, trust in actually in each other. And rather being there with an ally and supporting the ally in, let's face it, who has been attacked, they are continuing to cause this isolationist feeling, so that if we put in, by affecting our elections and electing candidates that will further our isolationism and allows Putin pretty much free course to do what he would like in the Eastern Bloc, or what was formerly the Eastern Bloc, or even Europe. And now for more local news. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton reached a plea deal to avoid his criminal trial. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has reached a deal with prosecutors to avoid a criminal trial on charges of felony security fraud nearly 9 years after his indictment. The agreement, which does not require an admission of guilt, which basically means he's doing no contest, entails Paxton paying restitution, undergoing legal ethics classes, and performing community service. Despite questions from the judge during the hearing, the deal proceeded, making another win for Paxton against opponents who hoped his legal issues would end his political career. This plea deal follows Paxton's survival of an impeachment attempt by fellow Republicans in the Texas House last year, which stemmed from separate allegations of corruption and abuse of power. His lawyer emphasized that the agreement does not constitute a plea bargain or an admission of guilt on Paxton's part, asserting his innocence. This resolution ends a lengthy legal saga that began with Paxton's indictment in 2015. The charges, including 2 counts of felony securities fraud relating to Paxton's actions as a Texas House member, where he allegedly misled investors into investing in a technology company without disclosing his commission, and failed to register with the State Securities Board. Due to Paxton's strong political ties, the case faced delays and venue disputes. Special prosecutors were appointed after the local district attorney recused himself. One of the prosecutors described the deal as fair and just, emphasizing their commitment to seeking justice. Supporters of Paxton, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, welcomed the agreement, likening it to Paxton's previous impeachment trial, which ended in his acquittal. Paxton's lawyer, who also represented him during the impeachment trial, attributed both proceedings to political motivations. Despite believing in Paxton's potential acquittal, his lawyer stated that the uncertainty of a jury trial led Paxton to accept the deal. Again, you know what? You can call it what you want. It's a plea deal. It may be for a withhold of adjudication. It might have been for much reduced charges. It's still a plea deal. Paxton now has 18 months to fulfill the agreement terms, with the possibility of the criminal case resuming if he fails to do so, which basically means that it is a pretrial diversion. So if he does everything, it would be seen as dropped charges, but as a pretrial diversion, you still have to enter into this agreement. So maybe it's not necessarily like a no contest plea with an adjudication of guilt, most likely saying, do this, you have to do XYZ amount of work, community hours as such. If you comply with everything, we'll go ahead and drop the charges. Now, for Texans, be on the lookout. We'll see where Mr. Paxton will show up. Maybe he'll be on the side of the road helping clean up the highways, or he'll be working with volunteer organizations for his community hours. The bottom line is that this is yet another matter that will be closed efficiently, succinctly, and very much in the favor of Attorney General Ken Paxton. And it further allows him to proceed forward with his duties as Attorney General. More importantly, with the continued appellate battle over the SB 4, which is the arrest of immigrants who illegally cross the border, which right now is still being, the appellate briefs and arguments are still pending before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. And this will also allow him to continue his duties as the overseer of the Attorney General's office for other such, laws and prosecutions. Again, I've said many times that Donald Trump tends to have Teflon. Let's face it, the Donster does have Teflon. Well, it looks like Attorney General Paxton, he also has that same Kevlar Teflon suit where nothing sticks to him or he gets by unscathed. Either way, this is going to settle much of the indictment, and most likely there will for the foreseeable future, there are no other expected actions against the Attorney General. So between Russia interference in our election and Attorney Generals receiving a very light slap on the wrist agreement, we are now proceeding forward full blast into our general election, and it is getting excited with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Announcing his VP, his vice presidential fellow candidate to what is happening with President Biden and such. We will continue to watch the news, and we are going to be going into all general election in the next segment. I wish to thank our sponsor and our host, Now Media, for this quick commercial break.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., independent candidate for president, announced his vice presidential candidate, and he named Nicole Shanahan, a very accomplished young woman who definitely has caused a rancor and some panic in Biden campaign advisors' camps, as well as Trump even putting in some few words. But the one thing is for sure, Nicole Shanahan's emergence as the running mate for independent presidential candidate RFK Jr. highlights her rapid ascent from philanthropist and political donor to a prominent position challenging both President Biden and former President Donald J. Trump. Shanahan's alignment with Kennedy's controversial vaccine stance has drawn attention, particularly her expressed concerns about vaccine injuries and support for challenging scientific consensus on vaccines, despite distancing herself from the label of anti-vaxxer. Despite never holding elected office, Shanahan's extensive career as a lawyer and tech entrepreneur focusing on health and environmental research underscores her credentials for the role. She founded and leads the Baya Echo Foundation, advocating for reproductive rights, criminal justice reform, and environmental initiatives, while also previously founding Clear Access IP, a patent analytics firm. Shanahan's marriage to Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, and her involvement with Sergey Brin's Family Foundation further bolster her profile. Shanahan's significant financial contributions to Kennedy's campaign, including the bankrolling of a Super Bowl ad through American Values 2024, underscore her commitment to his candidacy. Her involvement in coordinating the production of the ad, reminiscent of John F. Kennedy's iconic 1960 presidential campaign ad, showcases her active role in shaping Kennedy's campaign strategy, despite facing criticism from some of Kennedy's relatives for invoking the Democratic nostalgia. While Shanahan's alignment with Kennedy's positions on vaccines and her extensive financial support for his campaign illustrate her commitment to their shared goals, her lack of political experience may pose challenges. However, her background as a lawyer and entrepreneur, coupled with her philanthropic endeavors, provides a unique perspective that could resonate with many voters seeking alternatives to the traditional political figures. Shanahan's entry into the political arena as Kennedy's running mate adds a new dimension to an already contentious presidential race, and in fact may be breathing new life into the Kennedy campaign, not only with dollars, because she is an extremely self-made wealthy woman. And in her speech, she stated that she comes from a mother who is an immigrant from China and a Caucasian father who had issues, and that she shared that at one point her mother had to support her young children on food stamps and receiving benefits, and she understands the absolute need and the reprieve that these benefits give, but also that she has been able to pull herself up and attain an American dream. And that was taking in the opportunities that this country provides, taking in her education and creating something that has ultimately given her great wealth. And let's not forget, even the co-founder of Google, her husband, also attaining an American dream. But with that, yes, there's a financial influx to RFK's campaign, which desperately needs financial influxes, but it also is a call and a concern for those that are in the Biden camp, which Biden himself calling RFK a neoconservative. I mean, Kennedy, let's not forget Camelot. You have Kennedy, who is a traditional Democrat, aligns himself with many libertarian viewpoints, but also by naming a vice president, he can go forward in attempts to qualify to get on the tickets in many states, such as Florida, which requires a named vice president if you are not part of a major ticket. As a result of this announcement of Shanahan as the running mate for RFK, Trump attacks RFK Jr. and the third-party wild card. Donald J. Trump's recent social media attack on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. portrays Kennedy as a major liberal Democrat while simultaneously acknowledging him as a potential spoiler for President Biden's campaign. Trump's critique focused on Kennedy's views on climate change and the environment, labeling him as a more radical left than Biden. Despite Trump's apparent criticism, he also expressed support for the Kennedy's candidacy, suggesting that Kennedy's campaign could draw votes away from Biden, a sentiment echoed by some within the Trump campaign. Now, the real question is RFK like the next Ross Perot spoiler? Because let's remember, in the 1992 election of between George H.W. Bush versus Bill Clinton, Ross Perot was running under the independent candidate. And some will say that because Ross Perot was part of every debate, which Bill Clinton strategically always included Ross Perot in those policy debates, it continued to, and Bill Clinton, seeing that this was the potential of defeating George Bush, then sitting president George Bush, that Ross Perot broke the record. He received 18% of the electoral votes, and which ended being the demise or the candidacy or the re-election of George H.W. Bush. So is RFK Kennedy that next Ross Perot? Is he pulling? Well, yes. If you look at the polls, Kennedy is pulling very strongly among Gen Z and millennial voters, which Shanahan definitely will appeal to. He's still trying to break in with the boomers. Now, I'm trying to figure out if he even neglected, once again, the forgotten generation, which is mine, the Gen Xers. But he's trying to break into those boomers, because the one thing that the Biden camp is concerned with, and Trump is kind of playing, craps with this too, in that if Kennedy can get on all 50 states, whether it's through the Libertarian Party or on his own, some people will be reminiscent. Those boomers, those older generation of the great generation may fondly remember the Camelot days, the Kennedy days of John F. Kennedy, his father, Robert Kennedy, and Ted Kennedy. And they'll also invoke, Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy or Jackie Kennedy. And for Trump, he should be strategizing. I mean, strategically, he should be wanting Kennedy at every single debate, at every single point, because the potential of Kennedy drawing those traditional Democrats, those, independents that are a little bit more center left, that he may be drawing those in. But also, one thing is for certain, he also may be drawing in the disaffected Republicans, moderate Republicans, and also independents that are a little bit center right. But it definitely is going to cause a stir, to the point that former President Barack Obama is fearing the Biden's loss to Trump and has been strategizing with the campaign managers for Biden's reelection, to the point that on March 28th, in Madison at the Radio City Music Hall, President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama are hosting a huge campaign event on behalf of President Biden for his reelection, and they are believing and estimating that it will raise $25 million. I mean, it's a high ticket event. But as the election is drawing near and seeing these polls after polls, President Joe Biden and former President Barack Obama are also in close communication. Obama is offering strategic advice and support for Biden's campaign. And despite their current alignment, there was once tension between the two. I mean, to the point that Barack used to kid that if there was a way to mess something up, Joe would find it. And even Barack intervened to talk Biden from not election after his vice presidential tenure, and to allow Hillary Clinton to be the front person for the Democratic ticket. Despite initially withholding his endorsement during the 2019 Democratic primary, Obama worked behind the scenes to pave the way for Biden's candidacy. Their relationship, marked by its odd couple dynamic, has evolved over time, with Biden initially struggling with his role as second in command. Biden's frustration occasionally surfaced, particularly when he felt sidelined by the Obama team. Over time, however, Biden and Obama have developed a stronger bond, especially after President Biden's son died of cancer in 2015. Obama's emotional eulogy for Bo marked a significant turning point in their relationship, and you are now seeing this today. You are seeing that the Democratic Party, the DNC, and past presidents are very concerned about Biden's electability and winning against Trump. And his campaign is not about what he has achieved, not what he intends to achieve in the next 4 years and how he's trying to, lower inflation and such. It is about everything that is anti-Trump. So now we are seeing that President Clinton and Barack Obama joining together to help in this campaign. And as such, then you'll see that RFK is a spoiler alert in that campaign. And it's going to be exciting because, as RFK has stated, even as recently as Wednesday night on the Chris Cuomo show, that he has no intention of dropping out, that he has a goal. His goal is to get on all 50 states candidacy, and he believes he can win. So whether he wins or not, we are definitely seeing a remaking of history, and now it's going to be determined whether he will beat Ross Perot's record of being the spoiler with 18+% of the electoral vote. We are going to take a brief sponsored break with Nile Media, and we will be right back to discuss more things on the horizon, to include Trump's newest ventures. We will be right back.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure, and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock-bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your CareWatch right now. Operators are standing by.
Major question for mainstream media: how to cover Donald Trump. Though, like NBC attempted to seek some balance, they continue to trip up, especially with the fallout of hiring, then firing Ronna McDaniel, former Republican Party chair. See, we are no closer, as not non-traditional, but traditional mainstream media is no closer to solving the issue of bringing balanced news reporting and opinions, because let's face it, there's more opinion shows than there are actual news reporters, myself included, in that with NBC's recent hiring and swift dismissal of former Republican Party chair Ronna McDaniel echoes a familiar theme in television news: the struggle to balance viewpoints while maintaining journalistic integrity. McDaniel's alignment with Trump's false claims of election fraud and her involvement in efforts to contest Biden's victory made her hiring controversial and ultimately short-lived, highlighting the ongoing challenge of covering Trump and his supporters in the post-January 6th era. Now, if you recall, when they was announced that she was being hired to join a team as a commentator to basically give a different viewpoint, whether it's the Republican side, a conservative viewpoint, or even pro-Trump, there were analysts from both MSNBC and NBC, screaming foul, declaring that they would never be a part of a show with Ronna McDaniel on it. And it really makes you wonder, how childish can you be? This is our media. This is what is happening. And this is reflective not only in the media and with opinion shows and such that may, and with news analysts on NBC, MSNBC, or CNN, or, this is epidemic in all areas of our political family. And guess what? For the vast majority of us who go, why can't you just sit down? Yes, listen to differing opinions. Let's see if we can come to a consensus. But go ahead and you know what? It doesn't matter if you don't agree. Agree to disagree, but let's share our opinions and hear it. That is where we are falling apart here in this nation, because people are no longer, or at least it is being portrayed that we are no longer able to talk to each other. And this dilemma is not unique to NBC alone, as other networks have grappled with similar issues. CNN faced criticism for hiring pro-Trump figures like Corey Lewandowski and Jeffrey Lord in 2016, prompting debates over journalistic responsibility and political balance. NBC executives defended McDaniel's hiring as an attempt to provide perspectives aligned with the current Trump movement, because let's face that, it's another thing we have to deal with. MAGA, this MAGA movement, this pro-Trump, this group or following that Trump has created is huge, and we have to acknowledge it, because these people also have opinions, and they're very strong in those opinions. But at what point does the network's business and journalistic imperatives balance each other or outweigh each other? While NBC already features conservative contributors critical of Trump, finding a suitable pro-Trump surrogate remains challenging. The widespread belief among Trump supporters in the false claims of election fraud creates a dilemma for journalistic outlets, as accommodating such views compromises journalistic integrity. Here's the issue. You have an opinion piece. You're not reporting the news like the Walter Cronkite days, where it was supposed to be unbiased. Back before the stripping away of certain acts, both under the Reagan administration and then finally the Obama administration, if you want to talk about journalistic integrity and ethics, it used to be that the journalist, a news anchor, would report on the news without opining putting their belief. We used to have that with Dan Rather and such. That's gone. Most of these shows are political analysts, their opinion shows. And when you have a group like Meet the Press, things like that, and like Bill Maher's show, where he brings different people together to join in on a discussion thing. This is supposed to be what it's about. I would love and I would entertain anyone to come forward, any political side, whether Democrat, liberal, Trump, MAGA, progressive, or centrist. I want these people to have that opinion, because through these shared differing opinions, that is how we grow as a country. That is how we grow in knowledge. And that is also how we can figure out how to proceed forward. The pursuit of balance has led networks into an ideological conflict, as seen in Chris Leak's tenure as CNN president and subsequent departure due to clashes with staff over airing Trump's falsehoods. But also, you have to have some type of basis. I mean, MSNBC refuses to show any of Trump's speeches, not even a bit of it. You have CNN at one point refusing to show any of the rallies that Trump would do, or show it from such a back. You cannot have proper analyzing or proper discussions when you, and Fox News, you're just as guilty as well. You cannot go forward. And Fox News has actually gotten a little bit better. I will give them some props there. They have gotten better, but you cannot proceed on a conversation without having all viewpoints. And when you have half of a nation that voted for one candidate, another half voted for another, you can't just disclude what that other half is. And as much as I am opposed to the communistic, personally, based on my familial background and the experiences that I know people have had, yes, it would be difficult for me because I have strong opinions that are anti-communist, anti-socialism, and I do see that. But you know what? I have friends that are progressive. I have friends that are socialists, and I will sit down with them and go, explain to me why you believe this. And you know what is amazing? We don't cancel each other out. We actually sit down and discuss our differing opinions, and there are times where I learn something, I'm like, you know what? I can see your point. How do we find common ground? That is what is missing. And now going to the appellate courts and Texas migrant arrest law. In a decision that served as a setback for Texas, a federal appeals court ruled against the state in dispute with the federal government over a law allowing the arrest and deportation of migrants. The three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit upheld an injunction against the law, citing with arguments that it violated the U.S. Constitution and existing legal precedent, more particularly U.S. v. Arizona. Chief Judge Priscilla Richmond authored the majority opinion, emphasizing that immigration control is exclusively a federal power. Governor Greg Abbott, who championed the law, has expressed anticipation for the legal battle to reach the Supreme Court of the United States. The law, known as Senate Bill 4 or SB 4, allows Texas to arrest and deport migrants independently. Despite efforts to align the law with prior legal rulings, the court found it in conflict with federal law and precedent, particularly regarding the exclusivity of federal authority over immigration matters. The dissenting judge, Andrew S. Oldham, suggested that the court's decision foreshadowed a similar outcome in favor of the federal government in the upcoming arguments. The ruling marked the latest development in legal dispute over this law, which briefly went into effect early this month, all for one day, and being subsequently blocked again by the Fifth Circuit. The legal uncertainty surrounding the law has caused confusion among law enforcement agencies in Texas and raised objections from Mexico regarding a provision allowing state courts to order migrants back to Mexico, regardless of their nationality. Judge Richmond expressed skepticism about this provision, highlighting its potential conflict with existing Supreme Court precedent federal law. This decision is underscoring challenges posed by Texas's attempt to establish its immigration enforcement system, particularly in light of federal government's exclusive authority, but also it raises the hugest issue that's facing this general election, where in past it used to be about the economy. It's the border, stupid. That's what this election is coming about. It's not about the economy. It's now the border. And this is a big issue for over 70% of general election individuals who vote in elections. This is the biggest issue that they feel our country is facing now. And as a quick note, for those of you who have not seen it, Trump's social media went public, and within 48 hours, the stocks went from starting out at $38 a share to over 70 as of closing, I believe, yesterday. And this is a huge windfall because now this Trump social media, with more importantly his social platform, Truth Media, which is kind of like a Twitter-esque type of medium, has now begun trading. And since trading has now raised new avenues of questioning conflicts of interest. Because, first of all, here you have a publicly traded media group that is owned primarily, and the largest stockholder is still Donald Trump. And it makes the question, what happens if he's reelected? Is there a conflict of interest? But also, here's a man that now foreign nationals can start buying up stocks in this company to in your favor with a potentially sitting president. The ethical question surrounding the presidential control of a media company extends beyond the foreign influence. The experts warn of the unfair advantages and conflicts of interest if Mr. Trump were to use Truth Social as a platform to communicate, potentially profiting from the United States government traffic while disadvantaging competitors. One thing's for certain, I have a feeling if Trump is reelected for his second non-consecutive term, and I just have a feeling that the Democrats get back into, control of the House, which may very well happen because the Republicans only have one seat majority. We're going to be seeing some impeachments come, and there's going to be a lot of oversight over his ownership and control over this media group. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure to tune back in the next following segment.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Well, there's some up news for President Biden. He is not alone with his low approval ratings. President Biden's popularity has waned significantly, making one of the lowest disapproval ratings for a U.S. president at this point in his term. In fact, I believe he even has lower approval ratings than Donald Trump, and this may be the lowest approval rating since World War II. However, compared to leaders in other developed democracies, Biden's faring pretty good, as many of his international counterparts face even higher disapproval ratings. Global dissatisfaction with leaders is fueled by four main issues: inflation, immigration, inequality, and incumbency. This rings a bell, does it not? Inflation has surged worldwide, leading to discontent among voters who feel the pinch of rising prices. I mean, if anybody's gone to the gas stations, I was almost blown away that gas is now over $4.50 to fill up if you're using premium. If you're, it's hitting people's pocketbooks. Central banks' measures to curb inflation, such as raising interest rates, further exacerbate the public's frustration despite the potential benefits of curbing price increases. Immigration remains a contentious issue, particularly in the U.S. and Europe, where migration crises have stirred anger towards mainstream political parties. Concerns over job displacement, resource allocation, and cultural shifts fuel opposition to immigration, with far-right candidates gaining support by advocating for stricter immigration policies. The widening wealth gap and the perceived enrichment of the elite contribute to growing distrust of national leaders. Many believe that the wealthiest individuals and corporations have benefited disproportionately, leaving the rest of the population behind. And this undermines approval ratings for incumbent leaders. Also, there's a stronger growing sentiment and anger rising of sitting politicians who are enriching themselves, such as Pelosi and others, using their insider knowledge while sitting in government, and this is not just U.S., this is also other Western countries, and enriching their own bottom line. Incumbency itself poses challenges as longer leaders remain in power. President Biden was first elected to office in the 70s, I believe, he was in power for over 45 years before becoming president. And the more likely they are to face voter fatigue and criticism. This is also calling for more louder voices of term limits. This phenomenon, known as cost of ruling, is evident across countries where prolonged tenure often leads to diminishing electoral advantages. While some leaders defy the trend of declining popularity due to long tenure, such as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi or Germany's Chancellor, others face widespread disapproval despite relatively shorter periods in office. The prevailing chaos and uncertainty globally, coupled with the leaders' struggles to address persisting challenges, contribute to widespread dissatisfaction with those in power. As more than 60 countries prepare for or undergo elections this year, many leaders face the risk of losing their positions and widespread public discontent. The convergence of global issues combined with leadership failures to address them adequately underscores the precarious political landscape facing incumbents worldwide. Biden is not immune to this. We are seeing this. This has been a growing sentiment. And it's not anti-immigration. It's the fact that you're having this rush, this surge of people. I mean, we saw it in videos that were going viral. They're just running over National Guardsmen. They're running over people trying to protect it. And in Italy alone, there was an island of a community of 9,000, and there has now been a surge of over 10,000 immigrants. We have Pelosi, we have the likes of, even now I believe AOC, who have enriched their bottom lines because of the knowledge they're receiving, and they are becoming very, very wealthy. But we also have political House of Representatives and senators that have lived there. This was not meant to be a lifelong position. But Pelosi herself is now hitting a 40-year mark of being in the House of Representatives. President Joe Biden was in Congress for 45 years. And now you have leaders such as Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida leading the charge for states to come together and be able to put for a constitutional amendment of term limits for those representing our individual states as well as senators in Congress. So we will continue to watch this. But again, the biggest issues facing our presidential elections is immigration, security border, the economy. Because even though they want to flaunt that inflation is dropping, you are not seeing those prices going down at the gas pump. You are not seeing the prices going down at the grocery stores when a dozen eggs is costing more than $4. These are serious issues. And this is why RFK Jr.'s campaign has been seeing such a surge and so much interest, because he is providing a viable alternative to many of those that feel disenfranchised by the two-party system. And moving into some other news, and to speak of a gentleman who some have said is a true patriot, who always put the needs and the best and what was in the best interest of the United States over his own political interests. Joseph I. Lieberman, senator and vice presidential nominee, dies at 82. Joseph Lieberman, a prominent figure in American politics, passed away in Manhattan at the age of 82. Known for his roles as a 4-term United States senator from Connecticut and as a vice president Al Gore's Democratic running mate in the contentious 2000 presidential election, Lieberman's political career was marked by significant moments and shifts in alliances. Ascending to national prominence as Gore's running mate, Lieberman became the first Jewish candidate on a major party presidential ticket. During the campaign, the Gore-Lieberman team emphasized themes of integrity and brought religion and faith into public discourse, seeking to navigate around scandals from the Clinton administration. Remember those days? What is sex? Despite winning a narrow popular vote plurality, the Gore-Lieberman ticket faced a tumultuous legal battle over the results thanks to the hanging chads in Florida. The Supreme Court's landmark decision effectively handed the presidency to George W. Bush, leading Lieberman to later criticize it as a miscarriage of justice. However, both he and Gore, rather than go forward and call that was election interference, or that they truly won, or that President Bush was not a rightful president, they decided for the good of the nation to respect the United States Supreme Court ruling and showed their support of then George W. Bush. Lieberman's political journey included seeking the 2004 Democratic presidential nomination, losing the 2006 Democratic primary for his Senate seat, and ultimately winning it as an independent in a general election. He further distanced himself from the Democratic Party, which was then going further left. Progressives were coming in. It was further going into almost this, what you see, socialist aspect in an extreme progressive view. And the reason why he distanced himself, or actually received backlash from his Democratic Party that he had long been supportive of, because he endorsed Republican Senator John McCain for the presidency in 2008 over then what he felt a very young and unexperienced Senator Barack Obama, which in many ways was true. He was very inexperienced at that time, not really having many years in the Senate, but President Obama grew in his presidency and grew to be a very, grew into the shoes of being a president. He grew up during his presidential tenure in many ways. But one thing is, even though the Democratic Party may have turned on him and stabbed him in the back, he continued to caucus with the Democrats. Throughout his Senate tenure, Lieberman positioned himself as a centrist figure, often aligning with Democrats on domestic issues while supporting Republicans on foreign and defense policies. His efforts included leading the creation of the Department of Homeland Security and casting a pivotal vote for the passage of the Affordable Care Act, or otherwise known as Obamacare. Lieberman's legacy extends beyond his political career, encompassing his advocacy for civil rights during the 1960s, his contributions to bipartisan initiatives post-retirement, and his vocal opposition to former President Trump's false claims of election fraud. His passing marks the end of an era in American politics, leaving behind a complex and impactful legacy. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. As U.S. Senator Joe Lieberman stated so eloquently and poignantly and in 2012, which rings so true now more than ever. It is the partisan polarization which prevents us from making the principled compromises on which progress in a democracy depends. And right now, which prevents us from restoring our fiscal solvency as a nation. We need bipartisan leadership to break the gridlock in Washington that will unleash all the potential that is in the American people. So true back in 2012, but words could not ring so much more truer in 2024. We need our leaders to hear this. We need bipartisanship more than ever. And this is why we, the people, those of us that feel disenfranchised, or those of us that are, yes, we are Democrats, yes, we are liberals, yes, we are Republicans, and we are independent, come together because we are 40%. This polarized, disenfranchised, the people who are looking around going, well, wait a minute, why are we so divided? My neighbors are my neighbors. These are my friends. My family are my family. I love them nonetheless. We come together and have these discussions and yes, debate them. Yes, be on top of your, what you want for either side, but then realize after you have debated and exhausted your arguments, what are the commonalities? Because I assure you, for those of us, the vast majority, which by the way, we hold a lot of power, we know that there are more in common. We have more likes than differences. And this is why we can come forward. So until such time as our leaders realize that governing is bipartisanship, I leave you with his words. I wish to thank you again for coming to another episode, and also wish those of you who celebrate Easter a happy Easter and a happy Ramadan to our Islamic followers as well. I bid you good night and a good weekend.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993 2096 right now. That's 855 993